Hello, game devs. Thank you for joining me on this Unity tutorial. I don't actually talk like that. Thanks everybody for joining, and we're going to be doing a quick tutorial today on Game Creator, and later on we'll be also covering Playmaker, two visual coding assets, both available on Unity Asset Store. So right now we are in wireframe mode, and it is not the 1980s, so we no longer have to develop games in wireframe mode, thankfully. So let's go ahead and click out of wireframe mode. You can see that there is a the shading mode here, right under your scene or however your setup may be, and you can click shaded, and you'll be presented with the default scene, which or the default view, but most people are already in this already because it is default. So what we have in front of us right now is our 3D model that comes with Game Creator, and it is the default 3D model, so it can be actually replaced with any model of the humanoid type. And you can also set up generic models, but you might have to do some special things for that. Let's go ahead and click our player to see what's going on here. We have lots of options here in the basic parameters. Is controllable, we have it controllable at the moment, and can run, we have unchecked, so if you check that box we'll be able to run, and right now we'll be currently in the walk state. And we have our run speed and lots of other things here. We have the ability to turn on and off jump, and adjust the jump force, as well as advanced parameters to decide which direction our player is going to be focused or pointed in when they start playing the game. So they're facing the direction right now of what direction they're moving. They could be facing the camera direction or a certain target, and there's some other options here for the ground plane cursor, etc. And then we have the check nav mesh for the ability for the player to be able to use the nav mesh, and you can also set that up for the UI enemy to be able to use the nav mesh as well. And you have the push force that's going to kind of sort of accelerate, but just kind of give the player a push in the direction that you want them to go. And you have the save and load, so it's going to save all the information there, and all the settings that the player is currently has. So we have a player input, the input type, and you can pick directional, or you could do a point and click game, or you could make the player follow the pointer, so you can kind of move it around and have them follow. And there's also options for side scrolling and a tank control. And you can adjust acceleration for the deceleration and the acceleration for when the character is moving, so it can abruptly stop, or take a little time to stop, or take a little time to start, or start right away in its movement. And we have in the character animator, we have the ability to adjust the animator, and I'll go ahead and click that. And if you click locomotion there, you can see how it all kind of works behind the scenes, and you can edit the movement and change the speed there, and change some of the jump options too as well if you need to. And you can see when you click this, you'll see there there's a jump, and there's a blend tree set up, so it goes backwards and forth between jumping idle and jumping run, and various options there. But we don't want to actually mess with any of that right now. It'll be for another day. So I'm going to right click and close that tab, just showing you that it's there, so you can kind of dive into the advanced things when you're ready to do that. But a lot of it's not necessary if you are making humanoid or even a monster maybe game. You just need to set up some different options with your player, and there's tutorials on that. So, but we won't be getting into that advanced type stuff today. We're just showing you how everything works. So let's go back to the player, and we have some the default state here. You can actually click on the default state, and there is a crouch, a drunk state, a hurt state, and a meditative state. So you can make your character appear like as they are crouching. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and you can just hit play here, and I've changed the state to a crouch. And you'll notice that the character is crouching, walking around here, and walking left and walking right in a crouch position. If you jump, then you'll come back down into the crouching position. You can turn this off and make the default state play basically by default automatically, and just have a nice walk. And we have the inverse kinematics, which is for your use foot IK is turned on, and currently that would be if you're stepping on a complex object, maybe stairs or a ball, and you want the player's feet to kind of more conform to that way of stepping, rather than just kind of a linear way of stepping on things. And it's the same for the use hand IK, and there's also a use smart head IK and procedural landing. So those are some more advanced options that you can work with at a later time. And the player has a ragdoll, so you can trigger a ragdoll action to make the player fall if he gets hit, and you can adjust some parameters here. And then the character controller has a lot of options here for slope. Basically, if the character's trying to walk up a incline mountain, for example, you'll want to increase this value or decrease the value if you would prefer them not to be able to do this. And then the offset, it's fine for default. You could change it if you change your character's state, and you I'll give you an example here for changing the player state. We'll just type in crouch. If I click on crouch, we can see that there's lots of animations here that you can change and input your animations, and you can use Mixamo, or you can buy a package for the animations, or you can make them yourself. And you can edit this. It's all full customizable here for your state, and you can switch states during runtime of your game. And actually, maybe for example, you could do a key press, basically a key on, key down trigger. Set up a trigger for pressing a key on the keypad or on a game controller, and you can have your players switch to different states, and therefore, walking and crouching, or whatever you can imagine for the states. If you actually, you can probably press Control D, I believe. Yeah, Control D, and you can duplicate the state, and you can create a new state here, or you can always go to, I'll go ahead and delete that one. You can always right click somewhere in the menu here in the folders. Right click here, and then you can go to Game Creator actually, and you'll see that you will be able to, if you go to Characters here, after you go to Game Creator, you'll see that you can make a simple state, or a local motion state, or an advanced state. So there's lots of options there to change the way the player moves. So what we want to focus on today is making the player do something that an action that we can illustrate functionality in the game, and kind of give you inspiration to create your own game. And that's really what my goal is if this series becomes popular. So let's look at what's all in our scene really quickly. We have a camera motor. And it's using the camera. So if you look in our camera motor, we have our target direction, and it's saying that basically the camera is going to go in the direction or face and point at our target, instead of pointing at whatever camera direction that it's focused on at the moment. And you can customize this, and you can set up a target for the player, but actually the target is going to focus on the player, or it can focus on a game object, or anything, and the direction is basically the initial direction that it's going to focus to, and it could just be focusing wherever the camera is focusing, or the way the character is actually moving, what direction that they're moving in. And so in this case, the target direction, this means that the object that we're working with, which is the player, is focusing in one direction, and then the camera would also be focusing in that same direction that the character is at any given time. So you can do a target offset, so you can have a nice offset for the camera, kind of make it over to the side a little bit, so you can see the weapon or whatever you're using, and you can focus on the scene when you're moving. So you can allow orbit and change these orbit options for orbiting the camera, and lots of parameters are here that you can change, and you can change how you orbit, what buttons you press, and then the sensitivity, and you have a max pitch as well, and that's going to involve moving your mouse or joystick, and the sensitivity level of that. And you can allow zoom, and just a zoom for when you're when you first start, you might not want to have it completely zoomed in on the character, so you can adjust that, or the player, excuse me. And the zoom speed, sensitivity, and all kinds of zoom options here, and you can even limit the zoom. And then here's a void wall clip, and then we have well, a void wall clip is just so whenever you're moving around, it doesn't want to cut off certain aspects of your scene, and you'll definitely need to adjust this if you're going to move around in close quarters, in a hallway, for example. Here's auto response behind, and I leave this unchecked because whenever your character's idle for too long,